Welcome back, everybody. OneDog Podcast. My name is Ryan Weber, and I'm here with Coach Reich, who is the athletic director at Wingate University. We have an exciting episode because we are kicking back off the 2025 fall sports season. And so I think 2024 was a pretty decent year. 2024-25 season was decent for Wingate Athletics. So, Coach, if people don't remember how many years in a row we've won this Eccles Award, I think we did it again.
No, we did, yes. 17. I think we're at 17 now. 17 Eccles Cup championships in a row. We finished second in the Learfield this last year, which is essentially the national version of that, where they rank the athletic departments based off of one loss, how you did in the postseason, that kind of stuff. Ryan, I know as a former coach, and I know all the coaches can appreciate that. That was great, but that was last year.
Yeah.
So, as a coach, you celebrate that win for about 10 minutes, you know what I mean? So I know all these coaches that are on here kind of feel the same way. It's, last year, it's score 0-0. So let's rock and roll and let's get on with the fall kind of thing. So I know everybody's kind of chomping the bit as they come in to get going and get started. So exciting. So yeah. Can't wait to get going.
Yeah, I had one of my Facebook memories pop up the other day, and I forgot how many times in a row we won. And my wife and I, we've talked how many in a row was it when we were there? Because it seemed like we had won a lot in a row. And I had a Facebook memory pop up, and it was my senior year program guide, and it was at the bottom. It said 4-time Eccles Award champion, and I'm like, oh man, we're still going.
Oh, wow.
We're still going.
That makes you a little bit older now that you're in years.
I don't know anybody when I go on campus other than the old coaches that have been around for a while. It makes me feel bad. Well, great. So we have all of the fall sport coaches on here. We're going to bring them on one at a time. We're going to talk about the sports. We're going to kind of go down the list of everything that we have going on. Because if you haven't been around Wingate in a while, we have a lot of new sports that you might not have remembered that came about and were probably not here when you were in school. So we're going to meet some of these coaches, talk about some of these new programs, and kind of get to know the people that are involved and what we can expect with fall sports this year. So, Coach, who is our first coach that we're going to bring on?
Let's go with the elder statesman of the group. Let's go with Coach Hamill with men's soccer.
Coach Hamill, how are we doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
We've got you. It sounds like you're driving, but you're a busy man, so we'll take any time we can get with you. Coach Rick, you got a little intro for Coach Hamill. I don't know if he needs an intro, but you've probably got a little more information about all the awards and things he's doing.
Sure. Well, when you're talking about a guy who's won a national championship, who won Wingate's first national championship in athletics, a guy who's been instrumental to everything that we do in the athletic department. He's also an associate athletic director. A guy that when I need to talk to somebody about different issues, he's the guy we go to. You know what I mean? He's just the elder statesman. He knows so many things just about athletics in general and just kind of life. He is the mayor of Wingate, which is a pretty cool thing, and really does a great job with everything he does for the town of Wingate. So I don't know that he really needs much of an introduction, Ryan. So we'll just come to him.
So, Coach, what do we got this year? What can we expect with you guys?
Well, I do want to say this right before we get started. I remember the first ever Eccles Award we won, and we were celebrating like it was no tomorrow.
That's good. We need to celebrate everyone like that, right?
Absolutely. One never gets old, does it?
No doubt. That's awesome. So tell us about the team, Coach. What do you got? How do you feel about the team? Any players to watch?
I'm feeling real good about it. Going in was the amount of new players that we added to the squad. I think somewhere between 14. So we'll be doing a lot of getting to know each other and trying to move the pieces into the right place. And honestly think we've gotten there. I mean, to be fair to them, they came in very, very fit, very good individually at their positions. And I'm actually quite excited. We've got a preseason game coming up this Sunday at Mount Olive, so it'll be nice to go against somebody other than ourselves.
Yep.
But it's going to be a young squad. But, in our sport, that really doesn't mean much. It's how you play the game, and the experience will come with it.
Sure. No doubt. No doubt.
Do you got a game circled on the calendar already for this year? What's a big one coming up that you're looking forward to?
Well, I'll be completely honest with you. I'm old school. I take one at a time. And
I like
our
it.
first 3 or 4 games are on the road, which is important for us. I want to see exactly where we're at. And if I circled one, it would be the first conference game, because those obviously at the end of the day are the most important to us. So Tusculum in 2 weeks hopefully we'll have settled down, know exactly what sort of system we're playing.
Is there anything the first game or two that you're looking for from your team? Coming out of the first couple games that you're going to be very, very critical of in the first couple games like this. So I know we need this in the first couple games. And if this goes well, we know we got a great team.
Yeah, I think one of the most things I'm looking for in the first 3 or 4 games is how we're going to line up defensively.
I think we lost in there, didn't we?
We'll talk to Coach Hamill a little later. But yeah, they always have a good squad. And, when you've won a national championship before, it's kind of easy to never count them out, I guess, is probably the best way to say it.
Yes, absolutely. Well, let's go back to Coach Jordan then with football.
Coach, how we doing?
Doing great. How you guys doing?
Oh, can't complain, Coach. Anytime we can get 3 football guys on here, I always get excited. I apologize to the other sports, but it always gets me a little more fired up.
Ron, let me do the introduction thing then. Obviously, I think everybody's listening this knows Rasan Jordan. He came in 2001 as a defensive coordinator. And then he was at the University of Buffalo before he came here. Then left, went to Cornell for a year or two, then was at Buffalo State, was at Brockport.
Yep.
And then we were fortunate enough to get him back as the defensive coordinator, and then he moved up to the head coaching role last year. Is the reigning SAC Conference Coach of the Year, and won the league last year. So that's a lot of great things. So excited to have him on the podcast and have him back for another year. So Coach Jordan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Appreciate the intro.
What do we expect this year, Coach? I mean, you've got big shoes to fill, and your own shoes. You won the conference title. You won Coach of the Year. We lost some guys, but you got a really good squad coming in. So what kind of things are you expecting to see this year from the team?
This is really going to be interesting because, we're in the portal era now. We lost 7 starters on offense. You lose your quarterback. We had all those great the guys that played on defense, the Marquise Flemings, the Dan Morrisons, Daquan Mosley, there's a bunch of them. And so we're filling in a lot of new shoes this time, probably for the first time that we're going to probably be in a situation that we'll have some freshmen that'll be on the field for us, which has been unusual for this program for a long time. So, the optimism is always there. Everybody in the country, no matter, what sport it is, we all have an opportunity to win a national championship, until you get on the field. So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys react. A lot of the guys that are going to be on the field this year are stepping into primary roles. A lot of these guys were secondary role players for us where they saw 10 or 12 snaps a game. And now they're looking to move up to, maybe 40, 50 snaps, per game, and, trying to learn about these guys in terms of how they handle the stress of being in those roles are going to be huge for us the first week or so. We come out and play a really good, looks like ranked in some polls, UNCP team. They're very unique on offense with a wide variety of formations, and, defensively, they seem to like to bring a lot of pressure. So there's a lot of variables there for guys who are coming out for the first time. So, and it's always great to see, after you go through preseason, how everybody kind of handles that new situation, getting on the field the first time against competition. So it'll be really interesting to get out there and watch our guys perform.
You have any names in particular, Coach, that you're like, this is a guy that we're really looking to do big things for us this year?
Yeah. I mean, I think obviously Elijah Holmes starting at quarterback, you lose your 2-year starter, freshman player of the year quarterback. And, Elijah did a great job in preseason. He won a quarterback competition, and, this is going to be our first time for many of our fans that, really to get to see him in extended action. Carlos Estranza has been elected the team captain for us. He's been around here for a long time, going into his graduate year. It'll be really nice to see him, his production and what he can bring to the table this year. There's a number of the receivers now that are actually going to be, front and center guys, Xavier Jackson, you're talking about, we have a young freshman coming through that may see some significant time. We have Ethan Wallace on offense. He's dealing with a little bit of an injury right now, but Xavier Pugh is going to get some more carries this year. So a lot of really excited to see where those guys you're going to kind of end up on a Saturday in terms of their production and execution. And, defensively, we have some guys like, Kai Russell, who's been a stalwart for us. He was a, really big role impact player for us last year, returning. He's dealing with a little bit of a foot injury right now, but it's nice to have him back. We got Jaquan Edwards back, who, 2-3 years ago was a mainstay in the defense. Unfortunately for him, the last 2 years, he's dealt with some season-ending injuries. We're all praying for him to be able to get through that this year and get through a full season. There's a couple new linebackers that, played significantly for us that are going to be in higher elevated roles for us this year. And then the secondary, we got Brandon Perry coming back, who had a great year for us last year. So, we do have some names, some really good football players that were all conference guys coming back for us. But, at the same time, there's going to be a good number of younger guys getting out in the field for us, and they're going to need to step up and do a great job for us.
Very nice.
That's great. Yeah, Coach, we're definitely looking forward to the season. First game this weekend for when we're recording this. So hopefully when this drops, people will be hearing about a 1-0 Bulldogs team.
Oh, yeah. So that's always the nervous thing, trying to get that first one out the way.
Yeah. No, right. I definitely hear you. Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on and good luck this weekend, all right?
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
See you, Coach.
Let's go with Katie Mitchell next with women's soccer.
Katie Mitchell, come on down.
She's the head women's soccer coach. She just finished her first year, reigning, again, same thing. After we picked some good first-year coaches, she's the reigning SAC conference champion in women's soccer. So we're fired up about that. And Coach has done a great job for her. She has a new assistant, so you can tell us about that as well, Katie, when you get a chance. And we'll go from there. So, Ron, I don't know if you want to start off with some questions.
Yeah, no, I mean, one of the questions I always like talking to coaches about, usually like you design a season or at least the beginning of a season around a word or a phrase or something like that. Do you guys have like one of those callings that you guys kind of stick behind or to motivate the team?
Yeah, so I actually talk to Coach Reich about this pretty often, so I don't think he'll be surprised that we use the word whānau a lot, which is out of the book called whānau really means family. This book that we have read the past 2 summers. As a team come in, we talk about the book, we integrate it into our culture and our team. It's actually on my board just on the other side of the wall over there. So last year we talked a lot about like building a target on our back and how can we accomplish that. And a lot of it just came back to like family, the culture that you have within the team.
Very good.
No, I think a hard part for me, if I were coaching right now, it's coming back and meeting expectations. I mean, unfortunately, you're at Wingate, which is a great thing, but we expect to win now, and you start your first year and you win a championship. So what's it like kind of going back second year and you've got these really high expectations on yourself?
Yeah, I think it goes back to the target we just talked about, building that target on our back last year. We had a lot of seasoned players last season. In our back line and our goalkeeper position, in our midfield, and we graduated a lot of those players. So to bring players in that can kind of compete at a high level, but also just making sure that those players that are that are going from sophomore year to junior year to senior year for this year, just making sure that they're stepping into those leadership roles.
No, women's soccer, I mean, it's one of those sports that it's like it's expected to win the conference championship every single year. It just kind of, it seems like it always happens. We're even if a whole team leaves, it's like we just restock over and over again. It's just kind of built that into the.
She's done a great job. She really just in 1 year. All right, Coach. Let's go with Lauren Tekovic. Speaking of winning the conference every year.
Yeah, these guys might be the highest expectations to win a conference championship every single year.
Yeah, no pressure there. No pressure there. This is Lauren Tekovic. She is our head women's head volleyball coach. Tech's done a fantastic job for us. Continuing the tradition of great Wingate volleyball team. So I don't know that she needs much of an introduction beyond that, but Tech, welcome to the podcast. And
thank you.
So tell us what the expectations are for you. How do you handle a team that's won multiple conference championships, gone to national playoffs, et cetera, et cetera? How do you handle those expectations from year to year?
I think you kind of mentioned it earlier, but we just, or maybe it was Hamill, we just take one game at a time.
Yeah.
We always say like this group of people right now that we're working with in the gym hasn't won anything yet. And so if they want to achieve their goals, then, we have to win every single game on our schedule. And so we also say a lot of the times that like, you don't win just because Wingate's on your jersey. The reason that we win a lot is because our expectations and standards in our practices and in the gym is higher than everybody else. So we just every day after practice collaborate. Was this the highest standard that we can have? Like, and we're really, really tough on each other. And I think that's what makes the difference between us and others.
That's awesome. That's good stuff.
So if people or other teams or fans are looking through your roster and they're seeing names, what's something they don't see that's not on the roster?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I think we have 5 all conference and all region players coming back this year, and it's really exciting. But I think that there's some people in the mix that like are really, really important. And I really want to highlight like what we call our littles, which is like our defensive specialists. So Maggie Philauer and Haley Green, they're going to have a really big year, I think, and they've contributed a lot. So we're really known for our offense, but I think the addition of them playing as great as they're playing is going to create like a new dynamic for us. And they're not people that are going to get a lot of awards, or they're not going to get a lot of recognition just because of the position that they play, but they're pretty much setting the standard in our gym every single day for their defense and their talk and their collaboration. So, and they're just sophomores. So it's going to be really exciting to see them grow in that role this year.
That's awesome. We got to bring this up just because it's something. So we're getting a locker room redo.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
Yeah, so we're getting a renovation for the locker room, which, I should put on my resume now, like interior designer, because that's honestly where I feel like on my spring.
Welcome to a podcast studio. That's what I do.
And it's been really fun, but our players are just like, the reason that they choose Wingate and they want to be here and not Division I's or other schools is because they really want to win and they really want the experience. And they're just super, super competitive. So it's been fun because, they've never really cared about a locker room. That's not something, they don't care about the glitz and glam. They care about the score at the end of the day. And it's like been really nice to be like, but hey, like now we have something that's reflecting like the hard work that you've been putting in. That is more of a, reflection of our program and the tradition, that we have something really nice to show for it as well. So our players are excited and they're very, very thankful. But it's not quite done yet. So we have like a little bit more of a reveal to give them and they're anxious.
I'll bet. No, that's awesome. That's good stuff. Ryan Weber, anything else for Coach Tech before we move on?
No, I mean, I think volleyball program kind of speaks for itself. It's just kind of, we've got some of the longest winning streaks ever recorded in the SAC and in Wingate history. And it's just, even though Coach Collier had all these accolades and he left, it's, Coach Tech's just picked it up where he left off, and it's been great. So yeah, I mean, it's fun to watch. It's exciting to see. And I think we'll expect the same stuff and probably see the same stuff, which is winning.
Yeah, thank you.
Sounds good. Of
course.
Thanks, we appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Bye.
All right, Ryan, let's go with Nick Ratkowicz with triathlon next.
Here we are. Coach, how we doing? We got the bikes in the background. We're ready to get out there and go ride.
Yeah, right. Right after this, I'm going to the bike shop to pick up some bikes for the team. And then, we'll be doing some training this afternoon.
Very nice. Well, for everybody who doesn't know Coach Ratkowicz, so he, you talk about having a great year last year. So they won the women's national championship at triathlon and then the men's club national championship in the spring. So that's a pretty good year. Winning 2 national champs in a year. So Coach Rad, we appreciate you coming on the podcast. And so how do you follow that up? I mean, that's a pretty high bar, a pretty high standard. How do you as a coach, when you approach the team, that first meeting in the fall or in the spring when you're working out, what's the message?
Well, I think for us, it's interesting because this is the first year that we've really had like a graduating class. This is year number 5. So we had our first like full graduating class in the spring. We lost the national champion. We lost 3 girls that raced at the national championship in our top 7. So, that first conversation is, who's ready to step up into those positions, whether that's returners who are looking to improve, and show us they can perform, or whether that's, someone from our strong freshman class that came in, and whether they're ready to step in and fill those roles at the national championship this year. Also for us, it's a little bit different. As an emerging sport, we compete against, Division II, Division I, and Division III teams as well. So, even though we won that national championship as Division II national champions, when we go to nationals, we're still competing against Arizona State, Arizona, TCU, Denver, San Francisco. And we're starting to set our sights, on them and trying to bump ourselves up, the overall finish as well. So there's always the next step for us, I think. And certainly, our ladies are at that level. They could compete, and maybe go to D1 programs, but, they choose to come here because of what we can provide them, as far as triathlon goes. And we built a successful team. So they want to compete against those D1 programs and beat them.
That's awesome.
Sorry, go ahead, Coach.
What if Coach Rad, if you don't mind, just so tell us, because a lot of people may not be familiar with triathlon as much. They think Ironman triathlon, right? When you think triathlon, I think the average person thinks, oh, Ironman. So tell us the typical triathlon distances and competition.
Sure. So for the women, the championship distance is the 750 meter swim, 20K bike, about 14 miles, and then a 5K run at the end. During the season, we will mix it up a little bit with formats. Like this weekend, they'll be hosting a super sprint on campus, where they'll do half that distance essentially, and they'll do a preliminary race and then a finals race. But we really focus on that championship distance, and we'll do collegiate cups during the year where we race at that distance and get ranked nationally in order to qualify for regionals. And the East Regional this year is in North Carolina and Troutman. So that's a nice home field advantage for us. And then
10 minutes down the road. I'm going to go.
Yeah. It'll be an awesome race. Last year we were supposed to have it there. Somebody came through and wiped it away, but we're going back to try it this year. And then the national championship this year is moving back to Tempe, Arizona, hosted by Arizona State. So we got a lot of seconds and thirds from Tempe, got our first in Florida last year. So we'll be looking to kind of repeat that Florida performance in Arizona this year.
That's awesome.
You win a national championship in basically both sports, for what you're able to do. How do you prepare differently going into this season?
Yeah. I think for us, and me as a coach, is really kind of developing as well. It's a tough sport in that you've got 3 endurance disciplines. So it's really hard for one coach to be a master of all 3. Certainly I've got a great, background, I think, in running, having run collegiately at Notre Dame, but, having competed as a triathlete, I feel pretty good, but always trying to learn things in the new individual sports. So for me, I kind of take summer school and try to learn, a little bit more. Bringing on a grad assistant who is my 4-year captain, super strong on the bike and the run. So she's going to be able to help out there. Looking to bring on another grad assistant in swimming to help us with swimming. So it's really improving the program every year, like doing something different, that's not just, maybe a little tweak, a little change, but we make some wholesale changes year to year to try to make the program better. And, fortunately with the support, Wingate administration and Coach Reich in the department, we've been able to provide a real strong, high performance, atmosphere for our athletes. And that helps attract great recruits, that are racing at the national and international level. We've, got one of our guys racing at the World Championships this fall. We've had girls racing at European Championships all summer. So to be able to bring in that type of quality athlete and then provide a quality environment for them, it's just about stepping it up every year and trying to keep pace with their performances.
That's awesome. No, that's great. That's good stuff. Well, Coach, we appreciate you coming on, and the House of Tri looks good there. So keep up the good work.
Yeah, well, I do a little interior decorating myself, a little painting this summer. My wife picks out the colors. I'm just the labor. I just do the paint and get on the ladders. So
nice.
We all chip in.
No, I like it. Sounds good. Thanks, Coach. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks.
Coach.
All right, Ryan. Let's go with Paul Dominic from cross country. For those of you guys who don't know, so Paul is our men's and women's cross country coach. He does a phenomenal job. our men 2 years ago won the national championship in cross country. Last year, what was your finish last year? Was it second last year, Paul? And in the men, and then the women were eighth, I believe. Okay, so Paul's been with us, does a great, phenomenal job for us, and we're excited to have him on. So, Paul, kind of tell us heading into the year. Obviously, extremely high expectations last year, and I know you got extremely high expectations coming into this year. Kind of the same thing we just talked to Rad about was, how do you approach this year, knowing what's behind you and what you have coming back?
Yeah, I think last year, the team and I guess the reality is the team, we had a lot of graduating guys last year. So I guess I'll be able to apply a lot myself. Maybe the guys are no longer going to be here, but I think I learned how to not be a defending national champion and how to be better next time that we win one. I kind of learned how difficult that is. Coach Rag, I think I wasn't shy to you about how last year's team was probably the best team ever assembled in Division II. I didn't say that out loud very often, but you knew. Sure. And the fact that we didn't win was a big, not surprise, but it was not in the plan. It was not in the plan. And the reality is that, when I went through the season, and kind of looking back now, and obviously we don't really have a lot of time as cross-country coaches and athletes to reflect right away because we go into indoor and outdoor and we keep moving forward. But through the summer, reflecting back, and I shared that with the men's team, especially because obviously that applies to them. I think I was a coach that was trying not to lose, as opposed to a coach that was trying to win. And that's never good. We still did phenomenal. We had, for the ones that don't know, I guess, but we can start 7 guys at the national championship. We had 7 All-Americans. It's a phenomenal race. I don't think if everybody looked at the results, they'll look at a team that did incredibly well.
Sure.
We fell short 3 points, which in cross country is probably less than 3 seconds, combined across the whole squad. And I think we learned a lot. We graduated a lot of those guys. And now we return kind of with the same, team culture, same idea, but new faces, which is exciting. It's exciting. Yeah. Men's side, women's side, not so much of a refresh. So we kind of return a lot of pieces, but we're very excited about the newcomers as well.
That's awesome.
You think it's harder going back as a runner-up or as a following up a national championship?
I think none of them are easy. But I think knowing how I hope that when we win again, which I'm hoping is this year, when I try to defend it again, I'll be better. But I would say, not being the defending national champion, I think was harder than coming back a second. You're always hungry. You're always trying to kind of get one spot above, as opposed to when you've already won. You're in a way trying to replicate what you tried to do, and that's a mistake in my opinion. You should not try to replicate. You should try to keep improving, keep getting better. And it's not that we didn't do that. We still improved our performance from the year that we lost. We performed better than the year that we won. That's for sure. So we did improve. We got 7 All-Americans on that race on the men's side. But I feel like that taught me a lot. And I would say it was a bit harder to do that last season than the 2 seasons ago when we were coming in as second again.
Sure. What do you think as a cross-country coach? What's the most important thing for you to stress during the year? I mean, obviously, I think from all different sports, there's different looks at it. But when you're talking about cross-country, what is it that you're really trying to emphasize in practice? What is it that you feel like is the most important thing for you as a head coach? Yeah,
I mean, I guess there's a bunch of things that we kind of think about, but to me, the one thing that defines them all is process. Just sticking to what we do, not looking. Last year we had a lot of spotlight on the rankings and things like that, and that's just things we try to avoid as much as possible, because that, being number 1 in the ranking in week number whatever doesn't mean that you're going to win the national championship, right?
Sure.
I always tell my guys and the girls the same way that there's only one ranking that matters, and that's the one on November 20th in Wisconsin. That's the one that matters. Every other ranking gets forgotten. And so, yeah, sticking to what we do, the way we do it, and, forgetting about what other teams are doing and forgetting about what other competitors are doing or what other people are saying. I always tell both my teams, like, hey, the people on this room, when we have a team meeting, the people on this room are the ones that matter. Like, everybody else outside is just noise. Just try to stick to one another here and remove the outside noise. Our system is quite progressive as opposed to many of the other coaches that you've talked about. Like, other coaches want to win game one. Like, we don't really care if we win. We almost don't want to win it. We almost want to make sure that we're not as in shape as we should be in November now. So it's more about progression. That's how our sport is organized as well. Like, regular season has pretty much zero implications on the national championship result or election. So we're pretty laid back at the very beginning, and that's why, like, we don't really care what goes on as long as we know we're doing the right things in practice. So process and just removing yourself from the outcome is something that we're very passionate about from the coaching staff, and I think we're passing this concept along to the teams.
That's awesome. That's such an interesting way to look at it. So,
it's going to be so hard for a player. Yeah, we don't really care about these right now. We're just waiting.
Well, that's probably that might be too an exaggeration. We do care. The races, all the races,
of course, but
during the season, let's put it this way: winning is not the priority. Like, learning and executing certain things on race day are important. For example, hey, we're going to run all U4 together. Like, let's focus on sticking together, because that might be easy on this one race that there is 50 people on the race, but when there is 250 men sprinting out the line, that might be harder to do. So the more we practice that sort of thing, the better we'll be when it comes to November. So it's always thinking about November. And the result itself is not really that important now, but practicing certain things in the race might be very important. So yeah, I guess that's what I meant with not doesn't matter.
We got it.
That's a plus as well, of course. Like, go to races and do well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Paul, we appreciate you coming on and keep up the good work. You guys have done a phenomenal job. I can't even begin to say that. I know. To emphasize that enough. So keep up the good work, and we'll be talking soon. All right.
Yeah. Hopefully we can chat in November again.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks, Paul.
Good luck, Coach.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ryan, let's go with Kat Lind in field hockey next.
Coach Lind, how we doing?
Hi, good. How are you?
Great. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So Coach Lind is our women's field hockey coach. She does a phenomenal job. We were fortunate enough to hire her. She was a head coach at another program. We brought her in, and she had the field hockey program is still fairly new for us. So it's really kind of a sport that's coming on. A couple of years ago, I think we had 4 wins, and last year we were in double digits. So I think as a program overall, Kat's done a great job of really progressing the program along, staying on track. For those of you who've never been to see a field hockey game, which down here in the South is a little bit more far and few between kind of thing. It's really a great sport to watch. I went to a number of them last year. It's the athleticism out there with our women as they're running around, and just the ability to do the things that do is phenomenal. So the coach has done a great job with the program overall. So Coach Kat, as you're approaching the year, obviously you guys made some great progress last year. What's kind of the theme going into the year for you? What's your thing this year?
I think there's kind of 2 parts to that answer. The first thing is, we have a lot of leadership on the team. Finally, our first ever class, they're seniors. They quite literally stormed the trenches with me. They were the ones that helped start the program. They've seen everything under the sun that they could probably face with this program. And I'm probably about to have the hardest senior day I'll ever live. I can't even really talk about it. I'll start crying. So, we've got that class. I think with that leadership, though, the really big change for us is our freshman class is full of phenomenal leaders. they came in. I've met with every single one of them since preseason ended, and every single one of them came in and said, I'm so excited. And, my goal this season is to be whatever I need to be for this program to be successful. It wasn't like, I want to be a starter. I want to be, some of them, they want that obviously, but it's not, they care most about doing whatever they need to do to help this program. And for me, it makes me emotional because I'm like, we started at ground zero, and it was like every day, the days felt like years. We were like, are we ever going to get there as a program? Are we ever going to be the program I know that I'm capable of making this program being? And we're like there. Like, I'm like, we finally turned the corner last year. Last year we turned the corner, and now I'm like, we're running down that line. And then with that, I think what goes hand in hand with that is our ability to face adversity this year is going to be just as important as the leadership, because we've been able to, last year we were able to do it. We had some highs, we had some lows, just like every season I feel like typically does. And we were able to work ourselves out of the lows. And this year I'm like, okay, I feel like those lows might happen in a game, and this year we're capable of getting ourselves out within the game. And last year it was more like maybe we had a loss on the game, and the next game we were able to win. I feel like we're strong enough to be able to get ourselves out within those 60 minutes on the field.
Interesting. Very interesting.
So you have a lot of other sports around here that have been pretty successful. Do you get to, or do you go and kind of confide in some of the other sports or some of the other coaches and try and get some things that you take away? Like what are some of those sports or coaches that you're able to kind of get some insight from?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a hallway with women's lacrosse and golf, and they're, phenomenal. To be able to kind of just soak up their energy is huge. Coach Wiley and I are very high energy, loud people. So it was always just fun. But she's definitely, I feel like the person that I go to when I'm like, hey, like, with your team, and her being a spring sport too, it kind of helps because we have like that balance with differences that happen being different, in different seasons. So she's, I feel like definitely my person that I would go to. The first season, you talk about like how successful all these programs are. I think our program really struggled with having that level of success on campus and feeling like you're living in the shadows of that and being like, well, we have to win. Winning is like, that's the expectation. We have to win. And it almost like stressed the girls out because we just weren't getting that on paper. And I'm like, hey, well, we got to like measure winning differently for this season. Now we're there where it's like, okay, no, we're with the rest of them. And we're chasing the same dreams, which is an awesome place to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. Coach, let me ask you this from a recruiting standpoint. What are you looking for in recruiting? Like, how do you, first of all, like areas of the country, areas of the world, and then what specifically, how do you determine who a good field hockey player is?
Yeah. So I primarily look in the Northeast because that's where we are. That's field hockey. Thankfully our sport does a good job of doing really big tournaments. That's primarily what we'll recruit at instead of, obviously I'm not going to a high school game in Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Random night of the week. So we heavily rely on those big recruiting events. And thankfully they're always in really great locations, or like in Florida. And they're during holidays. Yeah. So we got to take the good with the bad here. And then as far as like our athletes, I always look for the things that I don't feel like I can truly coach, which is all the mindset stuff. My hard worker, the girl that's recovering as hard as she can on the field, the one that's pumping up their teammate on the sideline. All of those things that, maybe once they get here, they'll break out of their shell and be a little more of that version of themselves, but it's really hard to coach work ethic. And that's what I look for. And you can see it's so easy to spot, like I said, the girl that's hustling back, the girl that's picking their teammate up when they whiffed a shot, or, and of course with that, like now we want that with the high caliber of play, yep. We're not only recruiting personalities, but those are some of the things that I really try to spot first.
Very good. Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
What, any names to look out for this year on your team?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because I'm like, we've got 29 on the squad, and our depth chart is, I mean, our gap from top to bottom is, it's microscopic. It's tiny. So I think for the forward line, I mean, I'm looking at Laura Montgomery. She's just such a great, she's great at actually creating plays on the field for us in scenarios that look like they're impossible. She's great at distributing balls. We've got a lot of discipline with Sam Pearson. She's a great ball carrier. Riley Robinson in the midfield and Charnay Stain. They both are great ball carriers. Riley's discipline is unbelievable. That girl can turn a ball on a dime. And then Charnay is just explosive. Her speed is God-given, things that she came in and I'm like, whoa, it's very, very, very noticeable.
Some of that.
That's right.
And then our captains, which Charnay's one of those captains, and then Jenna and Kaylee. And their leadership they're all very different leaders, and together they are, I mean, the synergy unbelievable between them. So
no, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Coach, we appreciate you coming on today, and certainly we're watching for great things for you for this particular year. So appreciate all you do.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks.
Of course. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Ryan, let's go with Ann Taylor next with men's beach volleyball.
Coach Taylor, how we doing?
Good. How are you? Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
we can. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we appreciate you coming out today and being on the podcast. So this is Ann Taylor. Ann is our men's beach coach. We're just men's beach is a new sport for us, and we'll be asking Ann about that here in a second. And we're excited to have her here. She also is assistant for the women's beach coach, and they're in their second year. The women play in the spring and the men play in the fall. So, and tell us what that's like coming in and starting a program, getting it up and running, the kind of the highs and the lows of starting your own program.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm just so grateful for this opportunity just to start with. One thing that is just super awesome that I love to, tell people is that I come from a history of beach volleyball. My dad played the sport, played at a high level at USC for indoor and then beach. And then my uncle was an Olympian. And so beach volleyball, if you know, is so centralized in California, and it's kind of growing in Florida a little bit. But just the idea that it is expanding nationwide is just so unreal. And I even went to the National Hall of Fame for Santa Monica and got to speak with some Olympians this summer. And they were just blown away that this is officially becoming a NCAA sport, and men's beach volleyball is getting started. And just with the growth of the women's, it's really, really special to me.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think the men's volleyball players are like some of the sneakiest athletic people that you've ever met. So I just always love watching men's volleyball because it's like, why are they jumping 9 feet in the air? Like, this doesn't even make sense.
Yeah. And I tell them that in conditioning, because it's hard, the sand. And sometimes I think we forget just how hard our sport is. And, I have to remind them, I'm like, it actually really is a hard sport to play and do all this crazy, approaches and jumping and quickly getting a ball and diving and jumping again and all the rallies that can occur. And it's only 2 people. It's no one else. So it's really hard. And, sometimes we are so hard on ourselves when we're playing. And I'm like, actually, let's give ourselves a break here. Let's give ourselves some grace because this is a really, really tough sport. And then we add the weather into that, and that's a whole other ballgame.
Yeah, no doubt. Coach, what in terms of the season coming up, how many games are you actually playing this particular fall?
Yeah, so if you were to go on our website, it actually looks like we have a really small season based on the tournaments. But a tournament is definitely not a tiny event. Like, there is at least 2 matches per day. So that's about 4 matches. Some tournaments can be even more. And then especially at the end of our season, it could be even like a 4-day tournament. So it just depends on how far you go. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of play, and a match, even just 1 match a day, takes a lot out of you. So we'll do 2 matches a day, which is really great.
Wow.
How's it work? Do the players partner up with their own do they develop their own bond, or are you as a coach looking to try and find like the perfect mixture of like, hey, you two would be a really good pair and you never knew it before?
Oh yeah. It's so funny you mentioned that because we're just in the process of determining partners. And, as coaches, we don't like to split people up. We want to work with a partnership and help them develop throughout the course of the, semester. And hopefully there can be partners the whole time they're here. But, we have to kind of watch them every day in practice. That's huge. How they are speaking, communication and, just like how they complement each other's games. Usually you'll put a taller guy with a shorter defender. So we call it blocker and defender. Sometimes there's a split. They can kind of do both skills pretty well. So they have two splits together. We kind of just see who is kind of having that perfect chemistry. And we do actually value their opinion. So what I do every year is I ask them, who's your top three? And I don't tell anyone, that's between me and that player. And I take that into consideration. It's obviously not a perfect system. And sometimes I have to be like, hey, I'm not going on your list here. You're going to play with this guy. And, sometimes they're pleasantly surprised that, they end up playing well with someone they never thought they could play well with. But it's a lot of experimentation and trial and error there. But usually by midway through season, we have a pretty good idea of who's playing well together and who can match up good.
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. What, Coach, and you mentioned that obviously beach volleyball is big in California, big in and starting to get big in Florida. So recruiting wise, where have you drawn most of your guys from, and where do you see the future of that going?
Yeah, well, we're in a unique position in that men's beach volleyball is really brand new. So there's not a lot of true beach players. Even in California, most of them are playing indoor because it's the only thing that's truly competitive and with the high schools. So I got a majority of my team. We do have some true beach players, but majority of my team are indoor players. And it's really cool because indoor and beach are very transferable. We call it getting your sand legs. And so it's definitely a process of like at least a month just doing a ton of agility work in the sand. But once we can there's a few nuances between indoor and beach. Once we can kind of get them used to it, they play just great. So we have a majority of our team is not from California. I believe we only have one Californian, and majority are actually from the East Coast and Chicago. Chicago actually does have a great beach scene. So we're getting a bunch of different athletes, and it really excites me because it goes into that whole growing the sport aspect, getting kids from different states to play this game.
That's interesting. I think it was either you or Hannah, the women's coach, mentioned Chicago once before about being volleyball, a lot of volleyball in general in Chicago and beach volleyball. That's interesting. I would not think Chicago is that type of.
Yeah, of course in the winter it's freezing there, but in the summer it's pretty great weather. I mean, it's humid, but they can play a lot out in those parks, and they have an ABP tour stop there. So I think because that's been going on for at least 15 years, that tour stop, it's generated this huge popularity for the sport there. Okay. It's really cool.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, and so facility wise right now, we're playing out at Carolina Courts in Indian Trail. And that's where we're practicing all over. And then, for the future, we just, for everybody out there, we will be playing on campus. We're looking to build our own spot on campus. How big will that be for the men's and the women's team, and in your men, getting that facility on campus?
Oh, that's going to be huge. And this is something that was really cool for me to see while we're getting that facility built. We did host with the women's a home tournament at Chestnut Square Park, which is about 20-30 minutes away from here. And I was just blown away by the amount of support and fans that we got there, it's off campus. It's a little far from the main campus, right? So I was just so happy to see that because I'm like, well, when we get it on campus, I can't imagine the amount of people coming to support this program and the women's program. Because beach volleyball, I know some other sports, they're exciting too, and it's really fun, but there's something about beach volleyball. It attracts the fans. It really, if you go to any ABP event, the stadiums are packed. Everyone's cheering. Even in the Olympics, it is so popular with the Olympics. We just pack these stadiums, and it's really a special sport and a community. And I'm so excited for the facility to be here on campus because I just know everyone's going to want to come watch.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that'll be fun to watch.
I appreciate it. Well, Coach, we appreciate having you coming on today, and certainly good luck this fall. Obviously, I'll be watching.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Looking forward to it. So we appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Thanks. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.
See ya.
All right. I believe we have Frank McKinney still left in the waiting room. Is there anybody else?
We do. We have Coach McKinney, and he is rounding out the rear, but I think he's going to be a fun one to talk to here.
The anchor leg.
That's right.
Coach, I appreciate you hanging in there with us for this long. And for those who don't know, this is Frank McKinney. He is our head men's rugby coach. We moved rugby over from intramurals to under athletics, and we are fortunate enough to bring in Frank from Queen's University, where he was coaching there. He can tell you a little bit more about his background from over there, but came in with glowing recommendations from some of our people here at Wingate, and excited to have you on board, Coach. And I think I can say that for everybody. So Coach, tell us what it's like to be coming in from another fairly local school where you had established such a dominant program. And now you're kind of coming in, taking over late in the spring, a lot of groundwork to do, a lot of foundation to be laid. Give us an idea what that's like.
Yeah, it's definitely different.
Yeah.
So the last program I was at, out of 225 men's college rugby programs, we were a top 5 to 7 team in the country. So we play like Naval Academy, West Point. There's a school called Life University, which is their number one sports rugby. So those are the kind of teams we'd play. The interesting dynamic with the current Wingate team, I'm going to put this story out. It's an incredible story, but one of the things I talked about is I wanted to have a top team in America. And I had to have a lot of soul searching, write down my mission statement. But one of the things I said, is I'm a coach, not a magician. So every day I got to wake up and I got to do the basics in order to build the team. But Coach Reich and I had several conversations about the existing team. And in my mind, I kind of floated the idea. I said, hey, if you were starting a team, would you keep these guys, not keep these guys? And I really didn't know which way to go. And what's happened is the guys on the current team that have stayed have been a huge blessing. And let me tell you why. So their nickname from the young guys are called UNCs, short for uncles. And what they've done is they've taken the young guys under their wing and they've made sure that they've able to get to class, make sure they're able to find the cafeteria, all those things. So the difference is the kids we've brought in, I did some international travel to recruit. And we brought in 10 kids, 7 of them are international, 3 are US, but all have high rugby IQs, good players, but they're not bigger, stronger, faster because they're 18. And a lot of college teams, you got 20, 21, 22. So it's a huge difference. Where a lot of these UNCs, as the kids are calling them, are seniors and juniors. So they're bigger, stronger, faster. Just their rugby IQ is not high enough. So it's been a lot. But the biggest thing is setting a culture. And for me, I try to give young people transferable skills. One is being on time. So if you see any of my teams, they're there 15 minutes before the start of training. They don't get there at 4. They're there at 3:45. And then from that 15 minutes, they're doing work on. So some of the kids are kind of acclimating to this. So they get there 15 minutes early and they're hanging around, joking. And I got to kind of bring them together and have a refocus talk with them. Tell them, hey, you should be working on your things that you need to perfect in this work on time period. So it's actually been fun. I wish I could say challenging. I wish I could say, there's good days, bad days, but it's really been fun. I love to solve problems. I love working with young people. I think, I hadn't really run a training session since March. So my first training session, I'm going out and I'm like, all right, I can still coach, right? And then all of a sudden, man, the switch flips on and I'm like, this is what I do. Back into training and everything. So yeah, it's been fun. That's the only word that's the only sentence I can use to describe it. I mean, there's some challenging days, there's some days up, down, but overall it's been fun.
Oh, that's great.
I feel like there was like 4 or 5 guys from our team when I was there that were doing rugby, and I want to say it was like one of the first ones. I think they just came back and talked to some of your team. Didn't you have some of the older guys come back?
Ryan, you were good. You did your homework, didn't you?
Hey, man, I follow Wingate Sports.
You did your homework. Yeah, so it's important to me, part of this process, I had to make a lot of notes, and I wanted to take the history of the team. I think they were established in 2008. I wanted to bring that history back. I didn't want to let it go. I didn't want to say, hey, new owners, new names, everything like that. I wanted to take the existing history. So I brought in two guys, Nelson Hicks, who actually started the team, and James. I'm gonna butcher his last name. You told me
Mezzanotte.
Yeah, I brought those two guys in, and ironically, I know them from the rugby community, and I brought them in to speak. So we have a kickoff meeting. We kind of go over, what our expectations are, what our culture, all that stuff. And I had them as the opening speakers. And man, they had me you could feel a little emotional, like just talking about where they came from, what they had to do, what the rugby program means to them, what the school means to them, and it was incredible. I mean, I couldn't have figured, I'd like to think sometimes I'm a smart guy, but it was just me saying, hey, and Nelson had a whole speech and they're filming him. And then James got up and he had, and they were so passionate and they were so they love the school. They love the program. And it just showed the kids like, hey, this is why this is important, to make sure that we're doing the right thing, that we're going to class, that we're playing hard. And we put this Wingate, we put this, we put our name on our jersey on, right? It's important. There are guys that came before us that made sure that we were able to bring this to be a varsity program. So yeah, they crushed it, man. They crushed it.
I think that's so important to do as a coach. And when you're a player, you take it for granted. You hear these guys that come in and, oh, we did this, we did that. This is where we were. But looking back at it, it's like, no, I already made all these mistakes you're getting ready to make. Like, if you don't do this, you're going to be so much better than me and what I did. So just listen to, if you can take out one little thing that I say, it's going to help the team just immensely.
Yeah, it's the current team that was there have been just a huge, just helping. And then those two guys coming in and just sharing their experiences. They talked about when they went to a tournament that they stayed at a KOA campground because they were a club team. They didn't have a lot of money, and they were making up their own T-shirts. And I think James even put on his social media a picture of the new logo, the new shirts versus the old shirts. And it's crazy. And I remind the kids all the time, like, look, man, this is a privilege to be out here. Like, it's a privilege to be out here representing the school, playing rugby, being a varsity sport, and from that, I mean, there's responsibilities with that. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Coach, tell us a little bit about, for those not as educated on rugby, there's 15s, there's 7s.
Yeah.
When do they play? Give us a little background just on rugby in general.
Yeah. So ironically, I look at 15s and the purists will probably hate this, but I look at 15s as chess, right? Because it's 15, and 7s I look as more checkers. I think it's a lot easier to get 7 guys to be good than it is to be 15. So 15s is usually your fall sport. We'll play a good amount in the fall, and then we'll play some in the spring, and then we'll switch on and do 7s. 7s is usually an end of spring. Some teams do all of spring as 7-a-side rugby. 7s is in the Olympics. Or there's a 15s World Cup. There's a 7s. 7s is in the Olympics. So 7s is just 7 guys. So for the football people out there, if you think about 7-on-7 in football, similar to that, except for rugby has taken it, made it a sport, and it's easier for spectators to figure out what's going on. 15s is chess. It's 2 different position groups. It's guys being able to play together. There's no real timeouts. You're constantly running, big hits. You have to wrap when you tackle, which is a little different than football, but you have to wrap, big hits. Scrums, which you probably, everybody's kind of seen the scrums, which Philadelphia Eagles have perfected now with their tush push.
I don't know if you can go give Coach Jordan a few pointers over there, but I'm sure he would appreciate it.
When I watch Philly, man, and they're the only team in the NFL that can do it. They're the only ones that can do it. But it looks very similar to a scrum because they're all pushing together, right? They're all pushing together, and they're able to move that other team. They're able to move them back to be able to get that first down. So I love watching it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really good. That's really good. What from a recruiting standpoint, you came in late spring, so obviously there was just a little time to kind of put some things together. Where do you recruit rugby players from? I would imagine there's a wide variety there, but what's philosophically, where do you come from in recruiting?
Yeah, good question. So there's actually, Charlotte has a good amount of good rugby. A couple of coaches I played rugby with or have relations with. The other part too, I went to South Africa this summer. So South Africa, it's a huge rugby place. My last program had 7 South Africans. We currently have 2 South Africans that are on the team. So those are 2 of my biggest areas. Now you're also going to see rugby big on the West Coast, big in the Northeast, big in Florida. So I hit all those areas too. I was in Tampa, earlier in the year, and our fly half, which is like your quarterback, I had been recruiting him and he was going to go to another school. And then I saw him face to face in Tampa and he's like, Coach, I've been thinking about your offer and thinking about you. And, I want to come to Wingate. And now he's here. So those are most of your hotbeds. You're going to see, we've got a player from Andorra, one from Spain. Like I said, 2 from South Africa. We've got 1 from England. We've got, I know I'm missing somebody, but yeah. So a lot of international players. I try to keep my team 70% US, 30% international. I'm trying to develop US kids for national teams. The issue we run into is that when you start recruiting late, a lot of your internationals you can still go after, where a lot of the American kids have made decisions. So we're a little heavy. We're more heavy international today on just the new recruits. But we're probably that 70-30 mix with the unks, with the returning guys. So.
Oh, right. No, that's awesome. That's good stuff. Well, Coach, we look forward to seeing as you continue to develop the program. Well, I think we're all real excited about it and where rugby can go here. And, we wish you the best of luck this season and we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck.
Thanks, guys.
What's so impressive is, as I'm talking to all these coaches, every time you introduce one, it's like national champion coach, national championship coach, SAC championship 7 times in a row. It's just over and over and tons and tons of success. And a lot of these coaches I've seen for years. It's not a bunch of new faces. They're sticking around. They're developing programs and they're just consistently at the top of their game. So
we've been very fortunate here to be able to keep really, really, really good people, really, really good head coaches. And I think it's a good marriage, in terms of we have really good head coaches, but the head coaches stay here because it's a really great place to work. You know what I mean? And the people here are great, from the administration, from Dr. Brown on down. So I think it's one of those, we have our challenges like everybody else. I mean, every school in higher education right now is going to be stretched a little bit financially. Unless you have a gajillion dollar endowment right now, you're going to be stretched in the next few years just with enrollment and stuff like that. But so everybody's going to be challenged. And I think we certainly have those, but it's the culture and the people and the campus and everybody here. Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to be here for 25 years, and so you can kind of see it grow. And you mentioned Shelton Collier in volleyball. I've joked around with Dr. Brown, our current president. We're talking about when did we turn the corner as an athletic department. And one of the things that I've said was, there were 2 main things, and the first one was when we hired Shelton because it upped the game. Like he went from we had a very, not a great volleyball program to where we won the conference every year that he was here, except for 1, I think. And then Tech takes over and it's the same way. So that kind of set the standard to me. And then, I think, Dr. Brown, our current president, was in charge of enrollment management at one point. And I think, when he kind of adjusted some of the things in financial aid as a university, not athletics, that had nothing to do with athletics, but just as a university, just kind of say, okay, look, we're going to offer some good financial aid packages and that combination of setting a certain bar and then having, this gives us the opportunity. And then we hired great people. And the guys like Gary Hamill, who were here, who already had a great program, it became even more, you know what I mean? So I'm excited about the year coming up and seeing where we can go for sure.
Yeah, before we let everyone go here, I would not do my part in letting you have a little stage here to kind of talk to people about what the athletic program is doing and what it needs. There's always needs in especially Division II, but any school that's going to do well is going to have some sort of need from the donors or alumni or any support from just people listening. So what are some of those things that you're always looking for and that can help out?
No, and I really appreciate it giving me that opportunity. So really, I think what I would say to everybody out there listening is, no donation is too small, because there are areas in any of those. We obviously, I'll give you an example. We had an anonymous donor in baseball that just has reset the program. I mean, lights, expanding the field house, all these different things, and then indoor batting facility. That's, those are major players, right? Those are people that are giving a lot of money, that are making transformational gifts, which is phenomenal. And then we'll get down into kind of the mid-level, where it's a combination of people together. Like, for example, the Sports Performance Center, we've been talking about that for years, and we're keeping getting closer and closer and closer. And we're probably, we're still looking for naming rights for that. We have one, we're very close on that to being able to get shovels in the ground. But again, you're talking about a serious, some serious money there, some serious donors, to make that final commitment. But then it breaks down into, every program funds their budget by our fund, what we call Fund 2, which is our fundraising account. So, and those fundraising accounts a lot of times are made up of, $35, $50, $100, just a number of people sending in hey, I'm going to help out Wingate. I'm going to join the Bulldog Club. Coach Nash, the head of the Bulldog Club, I'm going to join the Bulldog Club, and I'm going to give $100. I'm going to give $150, or I'm going to give $75. Those really add up quickly. And so the coaches need that, because we fund probably 20% of our budget through that kind of stuff. So, as a football coach, I didn't really know that as much, but now as the AD, I how unbelievably important that is, so that we're able to, so that it allows us as coaches to be able to do the things that we love to do. Our mission is to go out and to coach young women and young men and make them better human beings. And that's what we really love to do. But, we need that. We need the funds to be able to do that, and do it successfully. In terms of, if you're out there and you're looking to give to Wingate Athletics, no amount of too small. And at the same time, if you have the means, and if you're blessed enough to have those kind of means and can give big dollars, that's a great thing as well. So, there's plenty of areas there that we can get them. And as far as, the needs, we've got, let me just keep this on the horizon. We're going to be starting a new beach volleyball, the beach volleyball courts here probably within the next couple of months. We'll start putting those in on campus. We just resurfaced the track. Like I said, we did a number of things with baseball. We just put in lights at softball. We have to redo the floor in Cuddy. We'd like to redo the locker rooms around Cuddy. We just did the volleyball one, or in the process of that. So just trying to up the student athlete experience with some of that. So any way you can help would be much appreciated.
Anything goes a long way. And it's always appreciated. So, The other way you can help is get back on campus. If you haven't seen a game in a while, or haven't been to campus and checked it out, it's they're always making improvements. It's looking a lot nicer. Check out a game, support the student athletes, get out there, and you'll have a great time. Every time we go up to school, it's like, oh my gosh, this is new. This is new. This is fun. And so, right. We're going to go to the football game. And I'm like, I can't wait to see what's new this year, because it's always something that's improving. And so, if you haven't seen a game recently of whatever sport you want to, go check it out. I think you'll have a great time. But we had a couple hiccups with technology. We're trying to do this virtual so we can do a little more consistent podcast this year and try and stay up to date. But as a marathon as we can make it for a podcast to get all of our fall sports, we've got it knocked out. And hopefully you guys learned a little bit from the coaches and are looking forward to our fall sports season at Wingate. But Coach, I appreciate you co-hosting this thing with me. You made it the whole time too. So, this has been a pleasure to have somebody kind of tag along with me and make me sound a little bit better than I usually do.
I don't know about that. Anytime, Ryan. I really appreciate it. This was fun. It's been fun.
Awesome. We'll see you guys next time on the OneDog Podcast.
Thanks, guys.